So if I ask you to do derivatives, we should be getting pretty good at those right now. So if I said, find f prime of x if f of x is 2 over 5 minus x. So how do you find f prime of x? Right, f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. Okay, would you guys be okay if I went ahead and changed that denominator to 5 minus x minus h? Just going to save myself a little bit of writing. Go ahead and distribute that negative. So then what do we have to do? So I'm going to take this one times 5 minus x on top and bottom. And this one gets 5 minus x minus h. So that gives me 10 minus 2x minus, this would be 10 minus 2x minus 2h all over my denominator. And this is over h, or you could say h over 1. Right, if we distribute the negative, positive 10, negative 10 cancel. Negative 2x and positive 2x cancel. So we have 2h over the denominator times a 1 over h. But what happens now? Now you can plug in a 0, so on the bottom you have 5 minus x times 5 minus x, or 2 over 5 minus x. Alright, so if I put one like that on the quiz, we'll be okay? Probably expect a couple derivative questions, just finding the f prime of x, because you just did a ton on this assignment, and we are doing the same thing on the previous section as well, just with a's, so probably have something like that. What if I asked for, in the first section it was more like equations, so if I said, find the equation of the tangent line to the curve y equals the square root of x at the point 9, 3. So if we want the equation of a line, we need a point and a slope. I gave you a point. How am I going to get the slope of the tangent line? How do we do that? It's the same thing, isn't it? Just the derivative. So the limit. We can do it different ways, but if you want to be consistent, couldn't we do it just like the f prime of x? If we want to do it the same way as we did the last one. So f of x plus h, do you guys want to plug in the 9, or do you want to keep it as x plus h for a moment? So it's just similar to the other. You want to keep it as x plus h, so we're doing them all the same. So f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. What would we have to do here? So we are going to take top and bottom times radical x plus h plus radical x. So with 1 as h approaches 0, when you multiply those radicals, the radical drops. So then on the top, my positive and negative x cancel, so I have h over this. Now I can cancel my h's, plug in my zeros, so we get 1 over 2 radical x. So the slope that we're looking for is when the point, my x value is 9, so my slope is 1/6. So now we have a point, 9,3, a slope of 1/6. Do I need to finish writing the equation? So then you write it from there. So if I'm asking for the equation of a tangent line, you have to first do the derivative to get your equation for your slope. So if I ask for one of those, would be okay? What if I asked for, I'm trying to think of some of the different applications. If I said the height of an object is y equals 20t minus 16t squared. Find the velocity after 3 seconds. All right, I gave you the height. How do we find velocity? Yeah, it's just the derivative again. So we're really doing the same thing every time. So we need to find our f prime of x. So the limit as h approaches 0, f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. So multiply everything out. And I'm going to square this and distribute my negative 16 at the same time. So then we can cancel 20x's, so 16x squared. Everything that's left has an h in it. So then we can cancel an h, plug in the zeros, so we get 20 minus 32x. That's the derivative. But we know the derivative is the velocity. And I said the velocity after 3 seconds, so you do 20 minus 32 times 3. So we get negative 76. It would be feet per second. Why is it a negative velocity? Okay. Questions on that one? So then I would probably do something with the graphs. You had a couple questions at the end of the homework that gave you a couple graphs and said, you know, figure out which one's the derivative of which, or I might just give you one and say sketch the derivative. So you know if I ask you to, let's say this is my function. Draw the derivative. So we know anywhere this has a maximum or a minimum, what's true about my derivative? 0. So my derivative would be 0 here, here, and here. Until I got to that point, my graph was increasing, so my derivative will be positive. Then my graph's decreasing, so the derivative is negative. Increasing, so derivative is, and decreasing, so derivative is negative. So could you draw a derivative based off that? You also had one or two where it had you actually like sketching tangent lines and using that to estimate the derivative. So if I gave you a graph and said, you know, estimate the derivative at a certain point, could you draw a rough sketch and kind of check your, just remember the derivative is just the slope of that tangent line. So we can kind of look at that. Any questions about what's going to be on the quiz? Mostly derivative stuff. And really at the end, either you're going to leave it in X or I might give you a number to plug in. But if I'm asking for a slope of a tangent line or a velocity or a derivative, it's the same thing every